welcome back to the Now What podcast. I am your host, as always, Arian Foster, and we want to thank our title sponsor, Smarty Pants Vitamins. They are an amazing vitamin company that's helping people get nutrients all across the world, and they're the best vitamins out. Don't pop pills, chew gummies, and Smarty Pants is the way, man. So we got a special guest in the building. My man's name is Dalton Hesley, and he's a senior research associate at the University of Miami in Benthic Ecology and Coral Reef Restoration Lab. And he has a master's in professional science degree in marine biology and ecology.
Yep.
And that's centered around coral conservation.
Yep, exactly.
All right. I'm glad I didn't butcher that, man. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's an honor.
So this is your first podcast, huh?
This is the one. Go big or go home, I guess.
Yeah, man. We're going to pop your cherry, man. So welcome, man. Funny, we hooked up because of just like anything that's great that happens in the world because of Twitter. Mm-hmm. And you sent me a tweet, and I looked at your profile, and I was like, you know what, that would be an interesting conversation, man.
I'm flattered. I'm glad that my Twitter game is that strong.
I don't think your Twitter game is strong. I think it's just your resume.
Okay, I'll take it. Yeah, it's funny that you reached out because, long story short, I had 2 flights canceled trying to get to this conference, and I ended up like stranded in Houston, and I had to rent a car, and I drove by your billboard. And that was what reminded me. I'm like, man, I wonder, what he's up to. I think he's in Houston these days. I'm gonna hit him up. So funny how life works sometimes.
That is dope, man. That is dope. Yeah, man. Billboard's off 59 in Westland for all you Houstonians. Go check it out. So you have a lot of you're decorated.
Thanks.
So what does all of that mean?
Yeah, I've been kind of just stumbling through life. I got experiences in a lot of different areas, and nowadays, like you mentioned, I'm a research associate at the University of Miami Rosenstiel School and in the Coral Reef Restoration Lab. So essentially what we do is we're growing threatened coral species to then, with our hands, plant back onto local reefs as a way to kind of rebuild those degraded populations.
Right. I mean, that's an interesting field because we're land animals, right?
Yeah.
So like nobody cares about the ocean. I mean, I stay out of the ocean because I'm scared of shit of the ocean. Like,
okay.
We don't know what's in there, bro.
Yeah.
But you're trying to restore coral reefs now. Why are they being destroyed?
Yeah, it's a lot of different things, honestly, and it's a negative feedback loop. But the big ones are climate change issues. So we're seeing ocean temperatures are rising, right, annually, and that's causing coral bleaching events. So these bleaching events are disastrous to corals where they're essentially dying, in tenfold. And so that in combination with ocean acidification, we're seeing corals actually kind of like crumble beneath themselves.
You said ocean acidification?
Yeah. Okay. So excess CO2 emissions are ended up in our oceans. And so it's changing the chemistry of the water. And so corals build skeleton out of calcium carbonate, which is a lot like chalk, I suppose.
Right.
And so the ocean chemistry, when it changes, it makes it hard for them to build that skeleton and actually can dissolve it. So these structures, we can see them from space. They're monster structures, and all of marine life really relies on them.
Right.
It's the idea that they're dying off from these bleaching events, and they're having trouble even building moving forward. They're facing a lot of problems, and, disease outbreaks, overfishing, coastal development. All these things are having an impact. So on an annual basis, we're seeing coral decline. And that's going to affect a lot of people, probably more than they realize.
Right.
So my job is to build them back up.
So how do you go about building, restoring a coral?
Yeah. So they came up with a methodology called coral gardening, which is actually a lot like what it sounds. We're growing these corals in underwater nurseries offshore.
Oh wow.
By the thousands to then collect or like harvest from to put back onto a reef. We're a lot like farmers. We're like underwater farmers,
That's
honestly.
insane.
We grow out corals during the grow out season. We harvest, and then we're like theoretically planting them back onto the reef.
Right. So what's the season? Like what's the seasons for coral?
Right now, it's pretty good season.
You're
spring.
fucking up being on my podcast.
I know. I should be working right now. But no, they grow really well in this time of the year. So usually we try and get all of our ducks in a row. Right. So all the coral, we have these giant nursery structures. They're like PVC pipe trees. They look like a Christmas tree, honestly. Right. And we hang the corals on them, and they grow really well.
And do they just, I mean, look, what's the, I guess, chemistry behind how they grow onto the coral?
Okay, so corals get most of their resources, at least the stony corals I'm talking about, are getting most of their resources from the sun, actually.
Okay.
And so we just make sure that these nursery structures give them the amount of light they need and like nutrient flow, and they just flourish. We understand kind of where they need to be.
Right.
And so when they have the nutrients they need and the right conditions, they're going to thrive. I mean, that's just how they adapted to be the way they are. And so these nurseries, we put them on these trees. We hang them with fishing line. So they're kind of like dangling in the water column. And I should have brought my models here. I feel bad.
No, it's all good, man. We're mostly an audio podcast.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We got a growing YouTube audience, but
good.
Y'all need to Google that shit. So.
Yeah. Oh, next time. And so they just grow. And what we do is we prune them. So after they grow to a certain size, the coral I'm kind of referring to is the branching coral called Staghorn Coral. Looks like deer antlers, honestly. Okay. So they grow.
I've seen that before.
Yeah. And we can collect pieces from that, right? And then
I think I could pull it up.
Yeah, pull it up. As a result, then it actually increases their growth. It's called pruning vigor, a lot like a rose garden. Okay. I'm not a rose garden guy, but from what I've heard,
you're a Coral Reef guy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a similar situation. So we're able to just replicate it, where we let these corals grow out, we harvest and transplant onto the reef, and then they grow right back in response, even faster than before. So it's a great technique, and it works really well. So we've been scaling that up now to where each restoration practitioner or university or agency can outplant tens of thousands per year to degraded reefs in their area, and then so now we're trying to branch out and use other corals. Because you need coral diversity for like a healthy reef, and so
there's different species of coral.
Obviously. Yeah, I would say honestly, I feel bad that I can't give the exact number, but there's at least 25 plus different species in like South Florida where we're working.
Right.
A number of them are listed as threatened under the Endangered Species Act, so those are the ones we kind of focus on to make sure that they don't disappear in our lifetime. And so yeah, there you go. So there's a lot of different structures to hang them on. Right there, you can see people just attach them to ropes, and they grow pretty well.
Right.
We use those PVC trees, but in the Caribbean where resources are limited, they're just putting them on A-frame rebar and just growing them there.
I heard there's plenty of documentaries out that I've heard of. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing to me is you see the effects of climate change firsthand.
Yeah.
And literally your livelihood is restoring the effects of what climate change is doing to the oceans.
Yep.
And so then you have to come out of the water, get out of your scuba gear, and listen to debates about people not believing that climate change is even a real thing.
It is mind-boggling. Yeah.
So I mean, how do you begin to?
And I'm glad it's like we scripted this or something, but that's kind of where I got.
I'm just good at what I do.
Know, right? I know. That's actually how I got into the position that I did, is because I am fascinated with why people make the decisions they do, and what we consider important. Right. I've heard you say multiple times you think people are crazy, and that
I think they're stupid.
Yeah,
man.
Exactly. And so that they have no idea why they believe in what they believe in, right? So the reason my job is so special is that I get to work with a community on a day-to-day basis. So we created this Rescue a Reef program out of our research lab, Dr. Diego Learman's research lab, to have transparency, to let people know what we're doing, the issues we're seeing firsthand, right, why we know reefs are declining, and then trying to give them tools that they can hopefully use to have a better impact on reefs and try and conserve those resources. So
the issue, I'm not to cut you off, I'm going to let you finish.
No, go ahead.
But the problem that bothers me the most about people in this country, especially you have to hesitate calling them climate change deniers because they have an issue with that. But this is one aspect of climate change that is affecting the earth, and it's huge. But the problem is you have different genres that are all corroborating, saying the exact same thing. And then you have this small little pocket of people saying, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And so we're kind of blessed with coral reefs because people really appreciate them.
Right.
There's a lot of beauty.
Yeah,
they like seeing it on television or even visiting on vacation.
Right.
And so the fact that they're declining, that gets people's attention.
Right.
The other big thing being money. People care about money. Mm-hmm. And the economic resources from coral reefs is through the roof. It's like $365 billion per year. Yeah, it's crazy.
What?
Yeah. For South Florida, I mean, that's what drives the economy. It's tourism, fisheries, recreational diving.
Wow.
So it's huge, and that's why people pay attention. So we're a little gifted. But you're right that there's tons of other different things that are screaming climate change is real, and people they got their earmuffs on. They don't want to hear it.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So what kind of I mean, when so you're down there and you're scuba diving.
Yeah.
You said you hang fish lines on the, like, what other kind of things do you do to restore because I'm looking at these pictures and it's like.
Yeah, so type in coral tree.
Coral tree.
Yeah, coral tree will be exactly what we're using. But so that's our nursery structure. It's pretty much a 2-part process where we have these different underwater coral nurseries with these coral. That's not what I thought it was going to be. Maybe a coral nursery tree.
Okay.
But we have these nurseries where we house all of our corals, and we kind of have to maintain it. And,
underwater coral tree.
Yep, exactly. So the image on the second row on the far left is what we're talking about.
Here?
One more left.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's just a PVC structure that has fiberglass arms that we hang corals on, and it is grow. That's Staghorn Coral, right? And
you stick these pipes in the ground and then hang them from the pipes.
Kind of, almost. We actually look for sand patches and we drive anchors into the sand to attach them to the bottom, and then we have a buoy at the top, so they kind of swing or sway in the water column.
Oh, okay.
Which is good for the corals. They get a lot of water flow. Regulate their temperature. They get nutrients. And we're able to kind of just work with that. So
what got you in that? Because you have an undergrad in biology, correct?
Yeah.
And so what got you to the point where you're like, you know what, this is some shit I want to delve
so
into?
I was a real late bloomer. I went to college at University of Minnesota Duluth, studied biology with kind of a focus on animal behavior. I've always been fascinated in animal behavior, human behavior. I minored in psychology, so I was really revved up about that stuff.
We are animals.
Yeah, exactly. And so it wasn't until my senior year they offered a study abroad in the Bahamas for coral reef biology, just a basic intro class. And they offered to get you scuba certified. It was like a 3-week thing. And it was like one of those opportunities you just don't pass up. I put the money together and I'm like, let's do this. And I'm telling you, the first day I was underwater and I saw the reef, my mind was blown. There's just so much life and activity out there that I was like, I need to do this way more often. So I took a year off after graduating because I didn't have any experience or recommendations and, none of the things I needed for graduate school. So I did some volunteer internships here and there, just got after it, and then got into grad school at UM, at Miami. Nice. So while I was there, that was when I attended a few of Dr. Lehrman's lectures and seminars, and I was just blown away. Coral restoration was it. I just loved it. And it was because it was so practical. It was like an immediate solution to some of the issues we're seeing with reefs. I mean, you're scuba diving too. I love scuba diving, so I was like, hey, if I can go to my 9 to 5 is underwater, that sounds pretty good to me.
That shit is pretty dope.
Yeah. So I took a liking to it, and after graduation, Dr. Lehrman hired me on full time, and so now I act as the research associate in the lab, kind of overseeing our students and interns, and then I manage our rescue reef program, which is the outreach, education, and the citizen science expeditions we do.
So how do you get funding for something like this?
All over the place. That's one of the reasons our lab is kind of unique, is that typically in academia, you're applying for, federal funding or private funding through grants, things like that. And that's pretty much how you live. It's a year-to-year basis. But
so when you hear all of these political talks and you guys kind of have to keep an eye about what's going on with that, because they cut government funding for programs like this.
For sure.
And add it to our, small military budget, and it affects your guys' livelihood. It affects your guys' profession.
I mean, science is under attack right now. I mean, you saw the March for Science was a way of kind of trying to stand up against that, but it's troubling for sure, because we know that there's going to be cuts and drawbacks, and we just have to do our best. But the one cool thing is that it's kind of energized another population that want to continue supporting what we're doing. So we've had a lot of people that will actually just donate out of their pocket and be like, we want you guys to keep doing what you're doing, because they see the good in it, and so they'll contribute that way. We get a lot of volunteers. So part of the way our program is designed is we allow the public to dive with us and actually help replant coral. So if you're interested one time, we'll get you out in the boat.
I'm interested. I'm just scared of the water.
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm real scared of the water, bro.
It's shallow. You can look up and see the boat. So
I don't care. There's sharks in there. I mean, do you run into sharks?
No, I mean, I got nearly 500 dives now, and I haven't seen one shark. I know they're out there, but they don't care about me. They're just doing their own thing.
I mean, they might not care about you. I mean, I don't care about the chicken I eat every night, but I eat it.
Yeah, I hear you. No, it's weird. It's weird.
I mean, that's got to be part of it, right? So just the aspect of diving safety, because I'm scared of the water. I don't know if I've said that before.
I think you mentioned that,
because it's an unexplored territory. We've explored very little of the ocean, and it's deep as shit.
It dawns on me every once in a while. I'm underwater, and I'm thinking, like, the only reason I'm able to work underwater right now is because I have this hose that's giving me oxygen. Like, if that went wrong, I'd be in a tough spot.
You'd be
not to mention the labor we do. It's rigorous, man. We're like blue collar working folk underwater because we're driving in anchors, with a sledgehammer.
Right.
We're attaching corals. We're getting just diced up, and so a lot of times we're focusing on a task. We're not taking pictures or exploring the reef. We're working.
So when the public comes and dives. They do the work.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
You guys. Wow.
Side by side. That's the cool thing about our program is that it's us scientists, and we're just teaching people. We're showing them kind of our methodologies. We're letting them know this is what to expect. Be mindful of your air consumption. We're kind of walking them through it, and then they're in the water with us. So they're at the nursery. They're taking measurements, collecting, and then they're actually out planting the corals too. It's pretty special. Not every day you get the opportunity.
It's you guys are like the NCAA.
Yeah.
You have the people do all the work.
Hey, they're volunteering, right?
That's what they say.
Yeah, we do give them a certificate at the end too.
No, so I mean, do you have to have? They have to have some kind of certification before they dive, right? Or
minimal. Well, actually, just basic. Our lab tries not to limit. Obviously, more experienced people can offer and do more work, but we don't want to limit it to people because honestly, the main reason we created the program was for education. It's citizen science, which is what that program is fundamentally based around. It's shown time and time again that if you get people to contribute to your cause, they're going to feel invested in it, and they're going to feel like an obligation to continue working toward that mission, right? So that's how we get people. We want to educate them. We want to let them know about why this is important, how it's important to take it back to your house every day when you're making decisions in your day-to-day life. So that's really what we do it for.
No, it's beautiful, and I want to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit later. But how does coral reefs directly affect human population?
The big one for Miami is shoreline protection. So not a lot of people realize it, but coral reef, like the structure offshore, that's what saves us. That's our saving grace. So up to 95% of wave energy coming offshore is absorbed by coral reefs, meaning that if they continue to degrade and decline, we're not going to have that structure, that complexity, and we're just going to get demolished.
I had no idea.
Yeah, for real. So
that's crazy.
Hurricane Irma was an eye-opener for a lot of people, and they saw the destruction, and so thankfully, a lot of government agencies, politicians are realizing the value behind that, and how if we want to keep Miami beautiful, then we got to protect our investments.
Right.
And so they realize that green infrastructure, actual living shorelines and reefs is a great way to go. And so thankfully, we've had a lot of support in that respect.
No, I had no idea. That's an interesting dynamic of science that kind of got me to fall in love with science is waves.
Yeah.
And how everything is a wave.
Yeah.
Light, sound, and water. It's all waves and interference patterns, and all of those intricacies about waves just had me going nuts. Like I went through this deep dive into what waves are, because it's not something. It's something that we kind of take for granted. You see a wave in the ocean, and you don't realize that same energy it infects every single aspect of your life.
Yeah.
It's insane. But that's part of the reason like what you're doing is so important. So like you do citizen science outreach.
Yep.
Right? So explain to me what exactly you do in that aspect of it.
I got you. Yeah, so I would say I'm like an educator as well, where I do a lot of public presentations. We do school group visits. We're really active on social media to try and give people ideas and how they can contribute to other things. But it's really just trying to connect with people like on a real level, one-to-one. Because a lot of times people can get lost in the noise, I think, and that they want to do some good, they just don't know how.
Yeah.
And so citizen science is like, this is what you can do, and it will be beneficial, and we'll teach you why. So it's powerful. I really enjoy it. I love citizen science, and I actually attended a conference last year in Minnesota. Go figure. In citizen science, and it just got me energized. I was really, really excited about it, and I think it's kind of the future. So the reason I'm in town was that conference I was mentioning to you, and I was able to give a talk. And so I was trying to get the attention of a lot of the researchers saying, we implemented this citizen science project into our research lab, which usually research labs are cut and dry.
Yeah.
You do research, you publish a paper, right? But if you don't have a way to communicate that to the masses, right? The only people that are really going to receive it are other scientists in your field, right? And so that disconnect between the scientific community and the general public, I mean, that's what I'm all about. I'm trying to bridge that gap.
No,
and
it's
so
huge.
citizen science is a big way to do it.
I went to NASA. I interviewed a NASA astronaut.
That's pretty casual.
Yeah, it's pretty dope, man. But his name is Victor Glover. And when I was setting up all my cameras, and I was talking to the lady there. She's the PR lady for NASA, and I was telling her, because I follow NASA on all the things. And I'm like, you guys don't know how to reach the youth. Like, I said it pretty bluntly, but because it's important to me. Like, NASA is one of the biggest government-funded science programs in the country, in the world, and I feel like their marketing is just really bad because it's set up to, like you said, reach other scientists. They're trying, but it's like they have to find more innovative ways. Like, you have to integrate it somehow with pop culture. You have to do that, and they haven't done that.
I agree, and so I think part of the reason I'm so passionate about educating people and trying to raise awareness is because I think I slipped through the cracks a little bit. You know, I thought you go to class, you get good grades, you get a good job, right? And so at my undergrad, UMD was amazing, so I'm not bashing them, but I just kind of blended, right? And so it took me a while to really wake up and realize how much was out there and all the good you could do and the things you could learn. And so every time I'm going to a classroom and we got a bunch of 9-year-olds that want to learn about corals, that I get to actually get excited about that. So I'm like, one of these guys might be the future of Coral Reef. So hopefully I can get him pretty excited about the stuff too. So that's what I feel like there's a disconnect. And the people that are making differences are the ones that are able to engage new audiences and get them involved in different ways. So,
I mean, do you see that as a problem in the science field as a whole? Like, because like you guys are one specific research group.
Yeah.
Like, if all research groups did what you did, like take kids on geology walks or whatever the case may be. Like, I feel like it's a huge, like you said, it's a disconnect.
Yeah, no, I'll preach to anyone that listens about the importance of trying to reach new audiences because it's been tested the age of time. It through and through. It's just been you publish your research, you share it with the scientific community, but you're not going to teach new people how to get involved and why your research is significant. So,
in today's,
I agree.
In today's world, bro, it's a weird place, man. Full of stupid people, and they have access to anything they want to. So they go and look for stupid shit. So the problem I see that's plaguing our society is this growing misinformation.
Yeah.
So as a scientist, as somebody who is concentrated on a single field, and I mean, you see misinformation about your field all the time. So how do you direct somebody towards getting correct and accurate information? Because a lot of times I have conversations with people, and I'll tell them about science, and I'm like, listen, you have to care about what's true or not true. Well, did you do the research? And I'm like, no, I didn't do the research, man. But I know how to differentiate accurate information from non-accurate information.
Yeah.
So as a scientist, like, how do you advise an average citizen to decipher between all of the noise?
Man, it's tough. And honest, the truthful answer is you just kind of need to know everything. You need to have your facts checked ahead of time so that I get climate deniers that tell me it's not real and China's throwing it our way. And
it's crazy.
And
you
so
have to laugh at that shit, man. Like,
for the most part, I just try and talk them off the edge. I'm just like, these are things we're seeing. It's been proven. It's just science, and sometimes it's just a misconception that science is wrong, or I don't know what happened in their education system, but they're just not believers and they don't understand the methodologies. But it's tested. So
I think that's a problem is they look at science. People look at science and they'll give like Darwin, or they'll give like, it's because it attacks their fundamental ideologies.
Yeah.
I think that's what it boils down to. And they'll give examples of where science has not gotten it wrong, but science has they haven't painted the complete picture yet. Right? So like the theory of evolution.
Yeah.
Like, there were parts of Darwin's theory that were a little bit off, right? But it was the correct methodology. And as time grew, more and more evidence corroborated, and then now it's one of the cornerstones of science. But they look back and they say, see, he got this part wrong, so it's wrong. But they don't understand, like, one, that was 150 years ago, and then like now, like, DNA alone proves it. And I think who's the guy that was the head of the Genome Project? Watson? No, I don't remember his name, but he was a Christian.
Watson and Crick, they discovered the helix, but
Right,
I
right,
can't
right.
think of the guy who did the genome project.
I forget his name. I mean, shit, I have an internet here.
The Google machine.
Yeah, but anywho, that shit is a huge problem in our society, and as a proponent of science, I'm at a loss of words. I'm getting frustrated with people because constantly on the internet, I'm trying to convince people that it's a real thing. And it's just like you're just talking to a brick wall that says the same shit over and over again.
Yeah. And what I think it is people just don't want to ask questions. You know, that's what science is. You're asking questions to try and figure out the answers. So a lot of people have these misconceptions where they've been told it's true, but without actually rolling up their sleeves and digging into it, you know, they just want to march forward. So I think that's a lot of it is that, you know, they were raised with certain beliefs and they're sticking to them. And
Francis Collins.
That was the guy? The
yes,
genome guy?
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't have had that one for you.
Man, it was on the tip of my tongue. It was funny. I was having a conversation with one of my brother's friends. He's my friend too, but we were in a hot tub and we were all chilling, and she doesn't think the Earth is flat, but she doesn't think it's round.
Okay.
And I'm like, I try not to engage people that are flat earthers, but I think sometimes it's important to. And we kind of go down this talk that I'm sure the majority of America has, because you have people who believe in like this spiritual world, which is cool. I don't mind you believing in that. But she told me that she could read the vibration of people.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, what does that mean, man? And I think that's how you do it. You keep asking them, what are you talking about? Until they're like,
yeah,
you just gotta believe. That's how it ended. She kept saying, I'm like, what do you mean by vibration? I was like, you see me vibrating? She's like, yeah, I see these, I was like, she said pellets. She said, I see pellets. I see they're like pellets and they're vibrating really slow or really fast. I was like, so you see vibrating pellets around people? She's like, yeah. I was like, so what are my pellets doing right now? And we just go back and forth until finally she says, you just got to go deeper. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And like you keep asking questions until they have no answer for what they're and usually that clicks, like for rational people it clicks and it says, you know what? Maybe I need to dig in deeper about what I believe. But for irrational people, they stop and they just go, oh, he's just closed-minded. Like, no, bro, I want to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I'm an inquisitive guy too, so I love asking questions and learning new stuff. So a lot of times I like that back and forth where I'm just like, I truly want to know why you think that the Earth is flat. Hit me up, let me know. I'll give you some ideas back and see if I can change your mind. Because I don't know, people got a lot of perceptions and. My job is pretty much just challenge them. You know what I mean?
So how do you combat conspiracy theorists?
I haven't tackled that yet, honestly. the one thing is that, you know, a lot of people that I run into in my circles are other people that are already, you know, motivated. Yeah, they're conservationists or they care about the environment, you know. Right. So we do try really hard to reach those other audiences that maybe aren't as interested because, you know, those are maybe the people that are more important. But yeah, I haven't had the pleasure, I guess, running into a conspiracy theorist like that yet. Thankfully. Yeah,
no, it's all you have to do is type in some shit on Twitter and they'll find you, bro.
You're active out there.
Yeah, man. Twitter's amazing, man.
I like Twitter.
Twitter's my favorite social media app
by far.
Yeah, I was on a podcast and I said this earlier. It's like I feel like there's like two kind of people in this world. Like you're either like an Instagram person or a Twitter person. Yeah, and like an Instagram person is more observant. You just like to watch. You don't really like to engage, but you kind of just like to watch. Mm-hmm. And a Twitter person is like you like that war of words. And I love the war of words. I think it's important. People always tell me all the time, like in my circle, like you kind of get praised for it, like publicly, like talking, because I love kind of the debate. But like in my inner circle, they're like, oh, you love arguing. It's not that I love arguing. I think that I love challenging my ideas. Mm-hmm. And so when I hear people talking about something that I'm interested in, which I think is the most important shit. The most important shit right now is science, theology, or lack thereof, and truth. So these things plague me. I stay up at night researching, reading, looking at videos, trying to figure out what other human beings are thinking, because these are the things that have been plaguing our society since the dawn of thought. of consciousness. And these conversations are important as shit. And people don't like to engage them. They just want to know who Khloe Kardashian is fucking. You know what I mean? And it's like that kind of shit is annoying to me. So like I can't like if you follow TMZ, like we're not friends.
Yeah, that's the first thing you check. Is
we can't be friends.
I'm with you. Twitter's great, and a lot of times it's just like you're asking for people to engage you, and then you can get into conversations, learn something new. I love it too. I'm with you on that one.
Are you heavy on Twitter?
Yeah. I don't even mess with it. I don't even have an Instagram, honestly. Twitter's my game.
You just post pictures and wait for people to comment on them. I guess. I mean, I have it because I think it's a tool and it's a medium for if you're kind of low key in the public eye for people to follow you. I have a Facebook, but my people run that. I don't even mess with Facebook, man.
That's what Facebook is. It's just for important announcements or marriages, I think,
and baby pictures.
Yeah, those two.
And Trump.
No, you're right though. I mean, social media has been huge, especially for our program, because it gives you a platform. It's a stage you can stand on, and a microphone you can talk into, and you can reach new people. I love that you're doing your thing. I mean,
man, I try to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we try and be pretty active. Both, I'm on there, and our rescue reef program is pretty active because we want people to be able to ask questions. You know what I mean? Like we do get people that kind of question what we're doing, and they wonder if it's worthwhile efforts. All the reefs are going to disappear, and so we want that debate. We want to talk to them about it and be like, if with that attitude, maybe. Well, I think we can make a difference. So we just try and get people involved.
To kind of circle back, man, is what kind of what's the ecosystem around a coral reef? Like what kind of life is around there?
Man, it's thriving. It's like electric. So a coral reef is just full of life. 25% of all marine animals rely on coral reefs at some point in their life stage. So to think of how many million, that's a lot. Not to mention what we rely on. But unfortunately, in my line of work, I usually only see bad reefs because they're degraded. So I'm trying to rebuild them. So I've been in the water a lot, but I haven't seen a lot. But I had the luxury to dive in some other places, and it's special. Honestly, I don't think I can even put into words how unique a coral is. Even if you're just snorkeling, I mean, it's a lot to appreciate.
See, I don't think I could snorkel either because
then you can see everything below you.
Yeah, but the problem is you got those big ass fins on. And if you really have to swim away from something, like you have no shot.
You think the fins are going to speed you up?
No.
Yeah, for sure.
How is this big ass fins going to spin?
Until you're in the water, man, you fly with those fins. Yeah.
Well, I might need the fins.
I mean, from what I know you're worried about, I don't think you could outswim them. But you're definitely fast.
It gives me a fighting chance, man.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So you're not afraid of anything in the water at all? Like never are you down there and you're like, yo, because like you can only see so far, and then like it could just come at you.
They can see like 10 times further too. So I know they're probably just watching. But I've had a few eerie moments, I guess. Well, I did some diving in South Africa, which is like the mecca of great white sharks.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of sharks.
So we did a lot of snorkeling in like seagrass or kelp forests, which are a weird environment, but it's dark and like shadows moving around. So that was pretty eerie. And then I've had a few times where, like, my line of work, I'm planting corals in these reefs, a lot of nooks and crannies here and there. And every once in a while, I'll look to my right, and those would be like an eel poking out of a little crevasse or something.
Oh my God.
Not about that. And then barracudas are always pretty interested in us. Which
really? Are they aggressive?
They're not aggressive. They're just stupid. So this is the truth. I am more fearful of barracudas than I am sharks, easily.
What?
Because if I'm a scuba diver, a shark's looking at me and he's like, I don't know that guy. I don't know what the dude is doing underwater, but I'm not going to mess with it. Barracudas just see something shiny and they want to eat it. They have no idea what.
Well, how big are they though?
I mean, be like
oh my God, I had no idea that they were this scary.
5 to 6 feet. So the problem with them is like they'll do little taste or like little test bites, I suppose, where they'll come up to feel you out. But I mean, if you hit like a major artery or something on your arm, then you're in deep trouble. So
and you trying to get me to go into the water with you, bro?
Yeah, but I mean, if you puff out your chest, they'll go the other way.
No, they won't.
Yeah, so barracuda, the other thing where I've had sometimes I'm working and I'm paying attention to one thing and I got a barracuda eyeing me up on the other side. So
Jesus Christ, yeah. I had no idea that barracudas were this big.
Honestly, the worst thing in the water though for me is jellyfish. Like they're just floating.
You're not convincing me to come with you, bro.
Yeah, I know. You got to remember, I'm in the water a lot though. So the fact that I have these run-ins, that's on a rare basis. But man, jellyfish. There's been some times where I'll roll off the boat and just land on one, and tents get stung up everywhere.
So what does the sting feel like?
It hurts. It's like a burning sensation, I guess, like a really concentrated one, because it's just their tentacles that get you. So they can wrap on your arm or something.
And do they do that?
Not on purpose. Yeah, they bump into you, so it ends up stinging quite a bit. But it'll go away after like half hour or so. But it's just it's annoying, if anything.
So is it like a venom, or is it like electricity?
They actually have these little nematocysts. That's like a stinging cell.
Right.
So they're actually like puncturing you and stinging you with this toxin, and so
it's like a venom almost.
Yeah, it's just like a defense mechanism for them. Yeah, the picture in the top there is kind of showing the rash. I mean, it's not fatal by any means. Yeah, that guy.
Oh, so you can't die from jellyfish?
No, well, not in the States, no, not at all. It just
Hold
hurts.
on, man. What you mean?
Yeah, man, in Australia, there's this. I think it's like a comb jellyfish or something like that.
Comb.
What is it called?
I can't remember.
Australia jellyfish. Yeah, that it can kill you. Like if you get hit by it. Yeah, the little guy on the second row on the far left. That little guy.
This thing
tiny.
here.
Yeah, they're tiny.
This thing here can kill me.
Yeah. If you go to Australia, I mean, there are probably other places too, but trust me, I did some fact checking before I signed up for my job to make sure none of those guys were lurking in Florida waters.
My God.
Yeah.
So you have jellyfish, barracudas, sharks.
Yeah.
And all you doing is trying to save the ocean.
Yeah, I'm just doing my thing. I'm trying to make sure the world keeps going around, even though it's trying to kill me in the process.
So that's gotta be frustrating as shit, man, because like you're literally putting your life at risk, and then you come up above water and you have to deal with all this. Like, hey, man, climate change ain't real.
Yeah, there's some weight on my shoulders. It's a challenging job because, like I said, we're working our butts off out there every day in the field. Long days, working nights, weekends, public seminars. Well, we're trying to make a difference. End of the day, we're just trying to change the world.
And you are. That's what I'm saying. Like, people like you are so important to me, man, because you don't get a lot of notoriety. Like some people do, but not a lot. Like you'll have your Neil deGrasse Tysons or your Michio Kakus who just kind of like emerge out of the side, and they become kind of the conduit from science to scientists, and then they reap the benefits from that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, a lot of scientists are just doing it because they love it. They just love it, and then you have to deal with the backlash of people who don't believe that what you're doing is an actual thing.
Yeah, it's challenging. The good thing I would say though is that, as my generation, younger generations transition into the scientific community, I mean, we get it a little bit. We understand the problem, and we're a little bit better at communicating it and being able to relate with people, I think is huge. I would say I'm a pretty personable guy, so a lot of people are able to kind of engage me and talk to me in a candor way, and so I think that helps. I think there's a shift. I think there's a strong shift.
Definitely, the youth is better at it than these old people in Congress, and they just need to die off. Like, I mean, I don't want them to die. I mean, they're gonna die eventually, but they need to not have any legislative power, because the things that they're doing are crippling our ecosystem. Yeah, literally. Does it frustrate you that there isn't a lot of representation in science in Congress?
For sure, man. Especially with the recent administration change, they've been gutting all of Washington for any science representatives. You know what I mean? Like the director of the EPA is a climate denier, so that's a struggle. But I think it's just going to be eye-opening. You know what I mean? Like, I think people were really comfortable. The Obama era was pretty good, so at least for the scientific community. And so I think people got complacent, and they forgot they need to get out and vote and talk to their local representatives, politicians. I think people are going to get so fired up, that it won't happen again. So I really do feel there's a shift. So I think that the support will be overwhelming. It's just going to take some time. We just got to keep trucking.
Thug it out, man.
Yeah.
I think it was my buddy who was talking about when Trump first got into office, and I was just like, I can't believe this shit is a real thing. Like, it happened, and I was like, this isn't like I woke up, I was like, that didn't happen. There's no way that happened. And he's like, yo, this is gonna be good. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, I promise, man, this is gonna be good. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was like, it's gonna piss people off to the point where they want to get involved. And I was like, that's kind of brilliant, actually. Yeah. I didn't think it was brilliant when he first said it, but then like 4 or 5 months in, I was like, that's exactly what's happening. Mm-hmm. You have this uprising of
it's
anger.
Real. And I mean, I'm actually firsthand example where, I was always active in making sure to go out and vote, but I mean, now I'm calling senators, representatives. I am, knocking on doors. Yeah. I think a lot of people are. So your boy was right.
Shout out to Swag. See, he's usually here, man.
Oh, the partner in crime.
Yeah, man. No Swag. He left to New Jersey, and I don't know when he's coming back. If he's coming back, man, that's my guy though.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the future look like of the work that you do? So say you restore all the corals.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. Usually that's one I leave for the audience, but it's a short-term solution through and through. We can't rebuild all the coral reefs around the world forever, right? They're just declining too rapidly. But coral restoration acts as a mean to keep those resources intact. That shoreline protection, habitat for fisheries, right? Recreation. So by restoring reefs with our bare hands, we're able to say, all right, ameliorate the situation.
It's fucking crazy that you have to like go fix the world literally because we fucked it up.
It's like, all right, let's piece this back together.
That's insane.
Yeah. So no, but that's where communication comes into play, is because that's a short-term solution. We realize and we want to be completely transparent that the long-term solution is on us as individuals. We have to make smarter choices in our day-to-day routine, limit our carbon footprint so we're not polluting the environment as much as we are. Make sure we're active in the community, politically, that we're making, as a consumer, you're purchasing brands that align with your beliefs, and so we're trying to open eyes.
So as a consumer or a responsible citizen that's looking to do his part, like what advice do you give? Like when you say eliminate your carbon footprint, I got a job, I gotta make ends meet.
Yep.
How do I eliminate my carbon footprint?
So there's a lot of different ways, honestly. Conserving water, reducing electricity intake, carpooling, real simple stuff. To try and offset, choosing a more plant-based diet, something I've been trying to do, eat a little bit more vegetarian than I was. That's really good for the planet.
It's really good for you too.
Yeah, no, trust me, I'm feeling great. And then kind of try and support programs that are doing good, because a lot of people they're busy, right? They don't got time to do everything. But if you're able to contribute even a dollar or two here or there, it goes a long way for a lot of different organizations, and they kind of rely on that stuff. So I would say the biggest one is like your day-to-day decisions, what brands you're buying, trying to limit you as like a consumer, I suppose, reducing plastic, stuff like that. It all adds up. So if anything, people always say, I'm one person, I don't matter. But it's like, all right, well, if we get a million people to think not think that anymore, then it adds up.
It does.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's too far gone at this point, climate change?
I don't think it's too far gone. I mean, it's going to get bad. The polar ice caps are still melting. We're going to see sea level rise.
Before you answer that, please explain to people about the polar ice caps, because I have so many conservatives that will tweet me about. I think it's because there's two main polar ice caps, correct? Let me double check that.
Honestly, I don't know I don't know how many there are, but
all right. So I think there's Iceland. And then there's I don't want to misrepresent that.
There you go, good old Wikipedia.
Yeah, man. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's two main ones. Yeah, okay, so North Pole, South Pole. No, where the fuck is it? I'll figure it out. But there's one of the Antarctic, I think it's the Antarctic. And one of them is actually growing in its what's the word? I don't remember, but it's actually growing, and that's the one that they like to cite. But they don't always cite the other one. So the net gain in polar ice caps is actually shrinking, and people don't ever factor in all of the polar ice caps.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make that.
It's like a net sum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna be damaging, because we're seeing it's from these CO2 emissions, right? They're ended up in the atmosphere, which is warming our atmosphere. Majority of that CO2 ends up actually dissolved in the ocean, which is it's causing those bleaching events and the ocean acidification I mentioned earlier. But it's causing sea level rise, and so our communities are going to be reshaped, whether we like to admit it or not.
Do you think Florida going to be underwater, stuff like
Miami, that? By 2050 is going to look real different.
Really?
Honestly.
No more South Beach, huh?
Oh, man, if you've been out there recently, just like from a full moon or the king tide, the streets are underwater. Like, wow. There was a news article that came out where there was an octopus in a parking garage because the flooding was so bad.
Wow.
Yeah. So people are going to realize it, and it's going to hit them right in the face. And so I do have faith, though, because, like I said, we're gaining momentum. A lot more people are realizing the issue. Yeah, you type in Miami underwater, you'll get quite a bit of articles.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And so it's going to be a big problem. But I think that people are finally opening their eyes and they're becoming enlightened and they're realizing the issues we're going to face, not in the next generation, but in ours. Yeah, you can see that sign where it says 2050 sea level.
Yeah, so this is actual...
projections have it rising, 5+ feet, which that's a ton. 5 feet.
It is.
Yeah. So, and we're seeing that already, but coral reefs are a part of that picture where the more they decline, the more coastal erosion you're going to see, and the easier it's going to be for the ocean to kind of overtake our communities. So we got to start quick and really. The Paris Accord was a huge victory until we pulled out.
Oh man!
Yeah.
So explain what the Paris Accord was and the for people that don't know, because a lot of like people just pop in podcasts. They're just trying to stay informed, and a lot of people don't understand. And I mean, I vaguely understand the Paris Accord and what it was.
Honestly, I don't know the complete depths of it, but generally what it was trying to get the world to go on board with, hey, we got to stop thinking individually. We need to work together to try and reverse the changes we're seeing. Like we are messing up the planet. We gotta limit our CO2 output to try and save the planet.
Right.
And it was a really great accord that I don't think would have solved all the problems, or I don't think it will solve all the problems, but it's at least in the right direction. It's progress, right? Life is about progress. Right. But the U.S. pulled out, and so it doesn't mean that we can't go back in.
Do you know why he pulled out? What did he say?
I mean, because he doesn't believe in climate change. So,
but there had to be a bigger reason than that.
He said it was a bad plan, and that was sad! Exclamation point. No,
dude is hilarious, man.
He said it was bad business. He said it wasn't good for the U.S. and we would lose, a ton in our economy, which, it might be true for certain sectors, but overall, sustainable energy, renewable energy, it's the way of the future. So I just don't understand not wanting to try and create a better environment to live in. They don't believe living sustainable.
It's like I said, it's like talking to brick walls. Like they don't believe it's happening. So they really it's the same thing with like flat. This is why it's kind of in line with like conspiracy theorists, right? So like flat Earth people, like you ask them, well, why would NASA create this elaborate hoax that the Earth is a globe and like to take our tax money? And that's all they think it's about. It's about money. I'm like, dog, like not everybody thinks like that, man. Like, and it's hard to convince people that are just convinced otherwise.
They're set in their ways, man. They put their feet in the mud and they're not moving. So it's a struggle.
100%. They say 4 reasons Trump was right to pull out of the Paris Agreement.
Yeah, this should be good.
It should be good. Let's see. 1, the Paris Agreement was costly and ineffective.
Yeah,
the Paris Agreement is highly costly and would do close to nil to address climate change.
That's a bold statement.
Bold statement. So the agreement wasted taxpayer money. Okay.
You were on it. You nailed that one.
Withdrawal is a demonstration of leadership.
Wow.
Get the fuck out of here.
The pissing contest now.
That's just crazy. 4, withdrawal is good for American energy competitiveness. It's all about money. It's all about capitalism, man.
Yeah. And so that's one of the main things that's always bothered me is, I get you got to make a living. You want to grind, you want to go home to a nice house, and I'm all about that too. But you got to be able to sacrifice for the greater good. Like humanity, it's got to be better than that, right?
It's like I would love to agree with you.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is that people are stupid, and I would love to have a better articulated way to say that. Mm-hmm. But I really think, like, if you have average conversations with people, and it's bad to say this, but I just don't think they're that bright. I just don't think that they're that forward thinking. Like, they don't think about these things. It's just like, if it doesn't affect my daily life, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's very sad. But it's a sad turn of events that this world, because it's weird. This world has kind of turned into this technologically advanced society that doesn't believe in the reasons why it got technologically advanced.
Yeah.
Computers, cell phones, airplanes,
Science
trains.
paved the way.
Science is the reason. And now science is saying, hey, we need to scale back on carbon emissions. Like, that shit ain't real. Watch out, man.
Pump the brakes.
You're in the way of the TV.
Yeah. No, the one thing that's nice, though, is I think you were talking to Stallworth about this, how, late in your life is when you realized how interested you were in learning, right? And I was the same way. Like I said, I went to college and I learned stuff, but it wasn't until after college at graduate school in Miami where I'm learning more than I ever dreamed of, and I'm loving it, right? So my thought is, who knows that the person I'm talking to that's 32 years old, set in their ways, isn't about to just open their mind, right?
So that's true.
That's why I keep working.
I mean, it is the reason why that I engage a lot on social media and engage with people, because it's rare that you'll engage with somebody and they'll change their mind. But for onlookers, like for people who are looking at your conversation and just kind of viewing it, they might say, never thought about it like that, and go check it out. And that's the reason why I stay so active.
Yeah, that's really what it is. And it's all about like self-reflection, where you think about how you got to where you did, and who maybe was influential, or what talk you heard that really got you excited or asking questions. And it's like, who knows who's in the audience when I'm talking today? Maybe I'm changing someone's mind. So it's nice. It's at least comforting, I guess.
No, man, you're
it's rewarding.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And I wish that I had chose another life path, but I'm happy about where I'm at. But I wish that I had got into science, because it's hard now. I'm trying to relearn math. And it's just it's a whole nother world, man. Yeah. But it's something that it's a challenge to me. But I wish I would have started early. But I think that's why I'm a little more hopeful for the future than I have been in the past, is because there's young cats have access to the internet that we never had. So like they could learn about whatever they want to learn about, and they have the world at their fingertips. We had dial up, and we was in chat rooms trying to get girls' age, sex, and location. But they have the wealth of information at their fingertips, and I think the spawns from this generation that has everything allotted to them can help save us. I really think it's gonna be one of these people.
I just don't see how it can't end up there. What I mean? Like you said, there's so much information readily available that it's hard to ignore all of the information in front of you. So I think people are going to figure it out, and we should see a shift.
I hope so, man.
Yeah, fingers crossed, right?
I hope so, man. It's like you said, man. Get out and vote. Get out and talk to your congressmen, mayors, anybody who has influential capabilities, because this shit is. Yeah. You don't want to have my man out here restoring coral reefs. You know what I mean?
For the rest of my life.
It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it, like what you do for a living, that you actually have to do this shit.
Yeah. The weird thing is that, like, I've had different parts of my career path, and I have no idea. I want to write a book. I want to create a foundation still at some point in my life. So I got goals, right? I got aspirations, and I feel like I'm still growing. But I really like the idea of working for like corporate sustainability, corporate responsibility, I guess. I like the idea that nowadays you're seeing a lot more corporations that are really public about them trying to make conservation. They're trying to go a conservative route for the most part. They're trying to have a better impact on the environment because they realize that's important to people. Right. So I can dig that. And the one thing why I'm such a big fan of you is that you were vocal. You realized you had a platform and you were a star, and so why not get your ideas out there, try and make a difference? I love it.
I tried.
Creating a lot of good.
I tell you what though, it's funny. It was scary at first because excuse me, when you have any kind of platform, it opens it up to criticism.
Oh yeah.
And so I was hesitant at first, but what it really made me do, and I started my journey before this, but what it really made me do was, before you talk, you have to kind of know what you're talking about. And so you I had to try to find a way to be multifaceted, right? Because the goal for this podcast was to learn as much as I can through other people. I had no idea about a lot of this shit before I heard about you, started researching about you, and then talking to you.
Yeah.
And so I knew a little bit about climate change, knew a little bit about the oceans, but in order to have conversations with people, you have to be a balanced human being. You have to be open-minded, and that's I think that's the reason why this podcast, I think, is doing well. It's because I can sit here and talk to somebody who restores corals. I can talk to somebody who's a political contributor, astronauts. But it's because I'm interested, but I'm not interested for the sake of anything else, but actually learning about it for the benefit, and because I care about what's true. I try to emphasize that to people. It's like, yo, you have to care about what's true, like, and we don't, and I don't say we don't. A lot of people don't, and it's important for society. So I appreciate you even recognizing that, because it was a conscious effort. Like, I could have just been set in my ways and just went on about my life, but I wanted to get down to the bottom of what was true in this reality that we have to share. Yeah.
No, as soon as I saw you making a podcast, I was like, I'm gonna sign up for this stuff, because on and off the field, I've been a huge fan of yours. So
I appreciate
this has been cool. I mean, what's the journey been like for you? I mean, You got to be digging it.
It's fun as hell, man. I get to talk to people that, whereas like I probably never would have had a conversation with.
Yeah.
And I mean maybe, but it would have never been as in depth, and I wouldn't have taken it as seriously. But it has opened my eyes to the human aspect of people a little bit more. To where it's like we might have met in a bar or something, and you'd have told me what you did, and I might have asked some questions and stuff like that. But like, there's a whole story behind you. There's a reason why you did what you did, and then there's reasons why what you're doing is so important to the global community, and so shit like that has really humbled me. And the more I talk to people, the more I just fall in love with life, and every single day, man, it's just a great. I'm a happy human being.
Yeah.
And it's in large part has been grown from this podcast. I've just learned so much, and I get to like I have Tony Hawk, right? So Tony Hawk is slotted to he agreed to come on. And I'm like super excited about that shit. When would I have a conversation with Tony Hawk?
Yeah.
Other than just in passing. So it's like I get to interview legends, I get to interview scientists, I get to interview like all these people, man. When it's really not an interview, it's just a conversation. So
I know. I mean, I'm thinking about taking a podcast now because I'm a conversation guy. I love picking brains, and so the idea of just being able to get people I'm interested in to come in and chat for a while. You're right, though. I mean, usually I got an elevator pitch where people ask about coral reefs and the issues they're facing. I got a script that I've memorized, right, and I can usually get the message across. But to be able to sit down, I was excited as hell about this because it was like I just get to open up, talk to Arian Foster, let him know about the reefs.
Let him know about the reefs.
Yeah. So it was cool, and I was really. I hope I didn't come off too nervous because
no. You good. That's what I'm saying. Is like, so this is your first podcast. You sound like you've been doing it, man.
Well, that's the thing is I'm well versed. Like I said, I mean, I've done interviews and I've talked to Joe Schmoes here and there, and I've done a lot of public presentations and stuff. But this was a podcast. It was laid back. I think this is cool, and I'm definitely gonna think about dialing up some more ones because
why not, man?
It's where things are heading.
I mean, 100%. Like TV's dying, and what is keeping people's attention and shit like this. People are interested in these conversations. People are interested in a lot of different facets of who we are as humans, man. So I say do it, man.
Yeah, I got a question for you because you've had a lot of the NFL players on, and you talk a lot about how they feel like they're not advertised, right? They don't get the recognition, individuality. Have you talked to some of the players and like seeing that they're working harder to? I know that with the whole protest, a lot of people are passionate about their derivatives, and they're actually working toward it. So I like that. But I mean, have you seen a shift?
No, not from my vantage point. I think that the NFL tries to, but the NFL is in a tough position right now.
Yeah,
I think the problem with it is its foundation has been a team sport, and its ethos has been. It was born out of kind of like that army mentality, that shut up and you do what you're told, like that kind of. And now you're at a point where this youth doesn't respond to that kind of authority anymore. Whereas you look at like basketball teams, it's a better relationship from player to coach than it is in football. Granted, you have more people, but from ownership down, coaches, any kind of staff, they don't view players like businessmen. They don't view players like individuals. They're kind of just looked at them like cattle. And that shift is changing from the player's standpoint as far as players wanting to be viewed like that. And you have a lot of these coaches that are old, right? So these coaches come from that mold. And so they're going to have to get weeded out. But in doing so, you're kind of breaking up what football was, right? The reason why we love it, because it was hard hitting and it was the way it was. But now you have cats like, Odell Beckham, who's like a super individual, which I don't do your thing, but it doesn't bode well for like team camaraderie sometimes.
A lot of friction usually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He could be the greatest team guy on earth, but I know a lot of cats. Some cats don't like that. Some cats do. Like me, I wouldn't care. Like I'm like, yo, get your money and do your thing as long as you ball out. I don't care. But some guys, it rubs people the wrong way. Like I know I got called arrogant sometimes by my teammates, and it's just because I didn't engage a lot of the time. And who knows? Like you always have to deal with all these personalities. But on top of all of that, it's a violent sport that its violence is kind of becoming its demise. The CTE stuff. the targeting, helmet targeting. So they're trying to address that. But the reason why we liked it because it was violent.
Yeah.
And so you have this juxtaposition where it has to balance it somehow, some way. And I don't see it recovering. And granted, it's the most watched sports in America, but the numbers are dwindling. I don't think it had anything. Maybe it had something to do with the protests, but not significantly. It's still the most watched sport, but I think the numbers are dwindling just because people are going to start losing interest. The more penalty flags that are thrown, the less people are going to be interested.
You mentioned a good point. I think it was with Jamil that it's oversaturated, man. Like Thursday night football is the worst.
That's the stupidest thing ever.
Man, I love football through and through. Like it's hard for me to not want to watch football, but when there's 9 games on, it was, in 1 week.
Yeah, the exclusivity of it made it special. It's like, oh my God, the game's on.
Yeah.
Sunday, used to wait for Monday Night Football. So it was those 2 days, and now it's like Thursday night. It's just like, and nobody wants to play Thursday Night Football. Not one player is like excited about that game. Not one. And they continue to do it because they struck a deal,
Yeah.
And they have to suit their sponsors.
Yeah,
man.
Money talks, man. I don't know if you saw this year at the Super Bowl. I was actually really excited about is this year's Super Bowl in Minnesota. So shout out to Minnesota for being the best. But
what does skol mean? SKOL. What does that mean?
It's like a Norwegian chant. I think like a Viking chant.
It's just it doesn't really mean
like a battle cry.
It's not an acronym.
No.
Oh,
I don't even know. It's always in capital letters. I think just because you're yelling it. You skol.
And nobody
Vikings.
knows what the fuck it means.
It's like a.
Nobody knows what the fuck it means.
I personally, maybe it has a deeper meaning.
It's
but
got to. Hold on, let me.
I'm telling you,
this.
I think it's just what we do for. It's like a Viking.
And you from Minnesota, so you need to know this, bro.
I think it's just like a Viking battle cry.
I've seen it for years. I just don't know what the fuck.
Google it. I mean, everyone's asking what skol means.
What does skol mean? Let's see.
SI did a whole article on it, man.
It's that deep, man.
Yeah, it was a problem. See, I told you, Norwegian. Okay.
Yeah. They were Vikings, weren't they? Skol has been in our lexicon since the beginning of the franchise in 1961. It was really like a cheers.
Yeah,
Vikings,
there we go. Okay.
Scored.
I had it.
We're celebrating. We're winning. A Skol chant was also introduced as a part of the fans' tradition when the Vikings moved to the U.S. banks. So there's no meaning.
It's just what we do, man. It doesn't make a ton of sense.
Where did it originate, though? So it doesn't mean anything.
Tough to say. I think it actually was like something passed down Viking tradition, and we picked it up.
I think that might be folklore, man.
I'd like to believe it then. I'll take it. But no, the Super Bowl was great because there was no waste, 100% sustainable. So they made sure they had actual representatives at trash containers and recycle bins to make sure that there was no waste, right? Which was cool. So for me, it's amazing that a giant corporation like the NFL realizes, hey, we can get a lot of good vibes if we just kind of think sustainably, realize people care about this stuff, and you're literally helping the planet. I mean,
they don't. But they don't believe that. They're just helping their pockets.
Yeah,
that's the problem with the NFL. They just care about their pockets. I actually had an opportunity to invest in this company, but I passed just because you can't invest in everything. But it was a plastic cup. They wanted to make biodegradable plastic cups in there, but they were edible too. So like,
nice.
Okay. So like music festivals and stuff like that. Like if you go to like any kind of Coachella or anything, you see the aftermath of people being there, and it's just plastic cups and shit everywhere. Terrible. So if like I was like, yo, that's a brilliant idea. You can't, like I said, you can't invest in anything, but like shit like that is on the forefront. That's why I feel like the babies of this generation here are going to figure out solutions, and they're gonna have to clean up our mess.
Yeah. Oh man, it's huge. So like nowadays, you go online, I love it. There's companies that will make bracelets where if you purchase their bracelet, which people are already doing, people buy bracelets, but if you purchase their bracelet, they're donating a portion of proceeds to some nonprofit, right?
Right.
DeAndre Hopkins was saying his pants were completely recycled, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not. Who did that? Pharrell.
Yeah.
Pharrell,
You're right.
Pharrell had pants that are completely from ocean
debris.
Debris.
Yeah, for sure. And then like Adidas is trying to come out with the sneaker that's recycled material. I love that stuff. Like, why not make?
It's important, and that's what kills me about our society today. Is like we have the technology to do things like this. We just have to convince people that it's a thing.
Yeah. Again, it was like what I mentioned earlier, that people want to do good, they just don't really know how.
Right.
So if you give them a product, like, hey, if you buy this, you'll be doing some good.
Right.
People love it, right? And that's why it's like that. that product you're talking about will sell like crazy.
100%.
And Starbucks actually just put out like a $10 million reward if someone can develop a compostable cup or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, people buy millions per day or something like that.
Yeah.
So I love that stuff. I'm all about it, and I'm like obsessed with energy. So turning trash into energy or an actual product people can consume for a greater good. I'm digging it. I'm on Kickstarter like every day looking
me
at.
Too. Yeah, no, for real. I mean, it's important, man, because it's our future, it's our future, it's our kids' future, and I'm not one of those people that believes we're reincarnated or there's some afterlife. I believe this is it, and I could be wrong, but just live as like Pascal's wager. Just live like this is it, man, because it's not gonna hurt you either way.
Yeah.
You have to.
Each year is a blessing for sure, man. That's why living in Miami's been a trip. Coming from Minnesota, small town.
Yeah, that's what
shout out to Big Lake,
culture
Minnesota.
Shock right there.
Seriously, people give me looks all the time, like, wait, from Minnesota to Miami. But it's just teeming with opportunity. I've read a few books on it actually that, like, if you insert yourself in the right environment, you're gonna succeed, right? You just need to be surrounded by the tools and the people to like learn and branch out. And so Miami's been a gift. And so, I mean, that's one of the biggest things I would suggest to people is that, we're creatures of habits. We do the same thing every day because that's what we do, right? But if you try something new, you just take a different route to work or you go to a different gym.
I'm huge on that.
Yeah, you got to break up the habit every once in a while.
I'm so huge on that. Get up 20, 30 minutes earlier and try a different route. Like, it changes you. It changes you. I used to do that all the time because, drive to the stadium or drive to wherever I'm going. You just take the same route all the time. But if you do, like, it just changes your mind frame. Like, change is good. It shocks you and it makes you wonder about other things. You might run into a sign that you never seen before. You might run into a person. Like, you never know what it's going to. So, like, don't. And I always tell people all the time, like, don't fall victim to routine. Routine is the worst thing ever for people who are inquisitive. Like, you can't fall victim to that.
Our brains are meant to like pick up routines and develop habits just to like save all that noise
and patterns.
But you're right. You got to break out of them. I mean, life is crazy sometimes. The fact that I had 2 flights canceled, got stranded in Houston, drove by your billboard, and it ended up me having on the podcast with you. I mean, what are the chances of that, right?
Pretty low, actually, man.
I think it's pretty low. So, I mean,
that's how you know Jesus is working, bro.
Yeah, it's all meant. Everything's meant for a reason, right? I don't think everything happens for a reason, or I don't even know about karma, but I mean, good things happen to good people. I think if you work and you're trying to put yourself out there, you'll be rewarded.
I think it's a perception thing, right? So, like, I don't believe in karma because I don't think there's an actual energy force that's picking. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that's what it is. I think it's bad shit happens to everybody, good shit happens to everybody, but are you able to receive that and move on from it? Like, you have to react to situations to try to make your situation the best possible positive outcome. And people sometimes they stuck and they dwell in that negativity, and it just becomes a cycle. Like, anything can set you off. Like, if somebody cuts you off, all of a sudden that pisses you off, then you speed up on them, you hit their bumper, then you have to get out of the car, exchange insurance info, then you have to pay that, and then that ruins that day. So you have to it snowballs, man. So you have to like take each opportunity just take the best positive. It sounds like super roomy and you know what I mean? It sounds super Dalai Lama, but it's the truth, man. You can't let little shit fuck with you because it will.
Yeah.
It'll fucking erode you.
Yeah, it's crazy you bring that up. So you ever heard of Minnesota nice? Like the perception that anyone from Minnesota is just like overly nice.
I think you're the first person I've ever met from Minnesota.
No joke?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm honored then. That's a pleasure.
Skull.
Okay. Yeah. Skull Vikings. But no, that's kind of the perceived idea of Minnesotans. We're overly nice. So moving to Miami, these people are assholes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. So when I
you were there. Okay.
Yeah, so I first went to Miami. What I noticed more than anything was I think it's like a requirement that you have to be a shitty driver.
Yeah.
Dog.
Yeah.
The driving there is ridiculous.
Yeah. My car is in pieces just from people in parking lots dinging me.
Bro, it's insane.
I got to wrap it in bubble wrap. It's terrible. Those are the 2 things I complain on a not day-to-day basis, but the people just not very friendly, right? They don't give 2 shits about you.
Yeah.
And the driving is mind-boggling. So I ended up moving as close to work as possible because I'm like, I don't want to be on the road.
Yeah.
For real. I'll bike. I'd rather bike.
No, for sure. But see, I think that's a huge difference between like small city and big city. It's like small city, you get that feel that like everybody's nice, everybody knows each other, so like you get that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody cares.
Yeah.
But when you get to the big city, it's a hustle. Everybody's just on their grind.
Seriously.
It's a competition, so like nobody really cares. I cut you off, I got to get to where I'm going. You
Yeah,
know
it's a
what I mean?
race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, because only two places I've lived. I bounced around quite a bit, but mostly I lived in Duluth, Minnesota for college, right? Which was a small city, I guess you could call it, but pretty homey. And then Miami, Florida. So polar opposites.
Oh, super.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to end up in 5-10 years, but I'm interested to see because I only know both ends of the spectrum.
That's crazy. Man.
Yeah, like small town Minnesota and Miami, Florida.
You gotta find a median. A good median to me was because I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is the biggest city in New Mexico, but it's a small city comparatively to like Houston or New York. So I kind of know the small town mentality that you're talking about. But I think a good median to that is like San Diego. It's like not a big city, but it's not a small town. And I'm not gonna say people are super nice like that, but it's a cool little vibe, especially like when you get towards the water. Cool little vibe. Man.
I just had a friend who was in San Diego and had rave reviews, so I guess I'm not surprised.
San Diego's nice. Man.
I've been lucky enough to travel quite a bit, so I got some favorites for sure. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird how like the environment you're in that shapes you. That's what it's all about.
100%.
Yeah.
Man. Well, I'm gonna let you get on up out of here, man. I appreciate you coming by, man. I want to show this real quick because it is your what is this website? What is this?
CBS?
No, not CBS.
Oh, Rescue a Reef. our website,
Yeah.
rescueareef.com. That's our program in Dr. Learman's lab.
So if anybody out there is interested if they're in Miami, if they traveling to Miami, or just if you want to just be more informed, as my Wi-Fi goes out, you go to this website here. It's called Rescue a Reef.
Yep.
And it details everything that they do. What they do is so important, man. And it's I think it's just beautiful human beings that are talented in what they do, and they're trying to help save us, man. So if you guys could donate, show love. This shit is important, man. Where can they find you on Twitter?
Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can follow us. Honestly, we try and just teach people about stuff, let them know important news, ways they can get involved, fun facts about corals. So it's a good follow. I'd recommend it.
All right. And where can they find you individually? Just Twitter and
me? Yeah. I'm on all of the above as well. I'm not as vocal.
What was it at?
At Rescue Reef is for all of the Rescue Reef ones.
That's your personal?
No, personal one's just at Dalton Hesley.
At Dalton Hesley.
Yeah, I'll mostly just talk about
That is the
football.
whitest name I've ever heard.
Minnesota, man. I'm telling you. Yeah.
All right, at Dalton Hesley, man. So if you're a fan of the podcast, man, you know how we end it every time, man. Yep. We're trying to get my man Jimmy Carey on. So if you could just look at the camera and try to get him on, man.
So this was actually what I was most nervous about, is what I was going to pitch to get Jim Carey on the show, because I know it's a goal of yours.
And from the heart, man.
Interesting people like to talk to other interesting people, and I can't think of two more interesting people than you and Jim Carey. So Jim, if you're watching this, maybe you got an interest in corals, come on the podcast. It's a blast, man. I promise you'll enjoy it. I certainly did.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
so
thank you, Arian. This opportunity,
Dalton
mind-boggling.
Hesley.
Yeah.
The whitest name on this side of the Mississippi.
I'll own it. I'm wearing khakis.
And a V-neck.
Yeah, exactly. It's about as white as they come. But
no, much love, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I learned a lot, and I'm gonna continue to do more research in this field, because it's amazing stuff that you guys do.
Good deal.
Man.
Hey, next time you're in Miami, hit me up. I can take you.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. I gotta shake my fear. I had a fear of dogs up until I was 29 years old.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I gotta
29?
shake it. Yeah, bro. I hated dogs. I got bit in the face when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So fuck them. But I got one, so I like one now. I like one dog, and so that's the homie. We're good friends. I don't hate dogs anymore. That's what it had. I used to hate them, but now it got me to the point where like, okay, I can be around them, and so I'm extremely afraid of the ocean. So fuck it, man. YOLO.
There you go.
I'm gonna hit you up when I come to Miami.
Looking forward to it, man.
All right, I'll detail
keep doing you
on the gram. Much love, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.